What's going on, everybody? BobbyFi here, flying solo. We're going to be talking through this NBA slate. Obviously, we got some news. This changes things a little bit since this morning. As you can see, you got Reeves projected as the best play on the slate with all the Lakers out, with AD doubtful. And I think it makes some sense, but I'm a little surprised. The thing that caught my eye the most was that Boston didn't project a little bit better. By the way, let me know how my sound is, because I'm doing the best I can from where I'm at, but it's a little rough when you're at sea and trying to get these things done. So let me know how it sounds. I'm going to change a couple of my core things here in just a minute, but yeah, I think that's, where you're starting. I actually feel way higher on the Boston side of things than everybody else is. I don't really understand why they aren't projecting a little bit better, and I will be heavy on the Boston side myself. But I'll just go through the games again and talk about what I'm doing a little bit. Not really all that interested in anything from Indiana. I can't play from out in Mexico, but I don't think there's any way in the world I would get to anything from Indiana, with the possible exception of Halliburton as a contrarian play. You could make a little bit of a case for Matherin or Turner, but not really, valid enough to where I actually want to do anything. So probably off the Indiana. Miami, pretty much off as well. I don't mind the Bam. That would probably be the highest level of interest I have. Let me just make sure the screen share is right. Yeah. But Bam is probably the highest level of interest I would have. I don't think it's a must, but if I ended up there, I would have no issue with it whatsoever, but nothing as priority from this first game. This Boston thing, I am going to actually go a little bit more aggressive on this than maybe the field would be. I actually think that you do want to get to Tatum as the spend up. You want to get to Holiday, Hauser. Those are my three favorites, but Derek White also. I mean, I really think that you're playing like at least two of these guys. At least for me, I'd be playing at least two in pretty much every lineup tonight. Holiday, Tatum probably being the favorites, and then Hauser for value is probably the way to go. It is the first game. We still do have some question marks later, but for right now, I'm going to leave it like this and go from there. But I really do like the Holiday, Hauser, Tatum combination, and Derek White is right there with Tatum. You can it's literally just pick a side. I think it's really close which way you want to. It depends on how your builds go, but I do like Derek White quite a bit. Naz Reid still looks like excellent value in this spot. He's definitely getting more of the run lately, and I'm good with that. I also really want to force in Anthony Edwards. I want to get this as a game stack. So I like, you play Edwards on one side, Edwards and Reid on one side. You go with Tatum, Holiday, or White and Hauser. I think you have a nice little game stack. You could also argue for Pritchard instead of Holiday. I have no issue with that either. I'm a little surprised the projections are not a little bit better for Horford. And if you want to take a shot with Fournette, I think you could. But I would probably have a minimum of two Bostons in pretty much all my lineups tonight. I think that they're being a little bit under projected, to be honest with you. So that's sort of where I'm at. Clippers, not really getting too much. If I wanted to do something, you do have Harden with a late day question mark. If you want to take a shot, because this is not, there's a 30-minute delay before this game starts from after the first games. I think you could play Kevin Porter Jr. and Chris Dunn in speculation, and they also can get there even if Harden's there, if Harden's in as well. On the OKC side, not getting too much. I understand that, you could certainly argue for Shea along with Tatum. I just prefer Tatum. I think Dort and Wallace, fine, but only as filler pieces. I would not be trying to go out of my way to get to them, but I wouldn't mind getting to them. I still don't think it's a bad idea to take a play like Isaiah Joe as additional value to Hauser. That would probably be my favorite contrarian play from the OKC side. Pop in any questions and thoughts you guys have along the way. Happy to go through that. Thanks, TJ. Appreciate it. I'll get to Kuminga and Jackson Davis in a minute. Just give me 1 minute. Let me keep rolling, and then I'm gonna get to that game in just a couple minutes. All right. On the Brooklyn side of things, I think D'Angelo Russell is still a core play for me. I think that this is actually an under projection. I think you should have. If I was playing, I don't know, let's say I was playing 60 lineups tonight, I probably would have 30 of them D'Angelo Russell at least. I think that he's going to be 6,500 plus soon enough. And if you're not going to play him, I do think Cam Thomas is a guy worth speculating on. That would be my favorite other play in this game. I'm not doing the Day'Ron Sharp thing, at least as of right now. If we get word that Clowney's out, that might change things a little bit, both for Claxton and Sharp. But as of right now, only one I'm getting to is D'Angelo Russell, and he is a core play for me, as I mentioned. You do have a little more value than we did earlier. You could certainly argue for Giannis. It is pretty close in price between Giannis and Tatum. I know I mentioned Tatum as a core play, but Giannis at this price, you could just close your eyes and play Giannis at 11. Feels like he's being a little bit under projected at 53.5 fantasy points. So I think Giannis is probably the other one that I have the most interest in as a spend up along with Tatum. If you can play him, it's probably a little too thin. You probably want to go a little more balanced tonight. But I think Giannis is certainly viable. Just didn't get to him in my early attempts at trying to hand build. Still love Embiid. I think he's the guy I like to pair with the other, probably my highest spend up tonight, along with other than Tatum. And I think Paul George is still too cheap at 7K, as bad as he's been in real life this year. 7,000 is just a little too cheap in what I think is a chip. So those are the only two I'm getting to from Philly. On the Golden State side, so Jackson Davis and Kuminga, as TJ was mentioning, I think they're both fine. Neither of them are going to be core guys for me. I probably would be right near the field, maybe a little bit below on both of them. I actually prefer Schroeder as a play over Jackson Davis. Also, the center eligibility, again, I really like a couple of the plays at center. So I would be getting Schroeder before I get to Trace Jackson Davis. Kuminga, I actually think is maybe you could argue should be projected a little bit higher. So he'd be I have more interest in Kuminga and Schroeder than I do from anyone on the Golden State side, but certainly nobody who I'm prioritizing. Moving over to Portland, Avdia still looks really good at 5,700. I think that's a very, very reasonable price. I'm looking at stacking are Boston, Minnesota, Portland, LA tonight. You'll see why in a minute for LA. That's where the majority of the value is going to, not value, but the majority of the guys who are just too cheap for their role with no, basically like 5 years out. But Avdia is my favorite. Ayton, I have to do with it, but I'm not going out of my way to do it. Certainly have no issue with it. Certainly have no issue with Kamara. Remember, we might also have some news later in the day. If you hear Banton's out, maybe it just ups a little bit for Scoot Henderson or Kamara. So I'm okay with like overloading the late games, just in the theory that, we always know that there's the news we're waiting on, and there's the news that we don't know that we might find out later. Somebody might, sprain their ankle in warmups or whatever the hell happens. I think you're prioritizing along with, again, I mentioned Embiid, Tatum, and LeBron are the 3 for me that I would be spending up on tonight. I think Austin Reeves is basically would probably be I would guess he'd make almost all my lineups. This is just a great matchup. We have, there's no Russell anymore. There's no AD. I love these guys. Next is Rui. I agree with the projections here. I would be going out of my way to get stuff here. And if you wanted to get like a little frisky, Max Christie or Dalton Connect, I think are both viable as well. Not really sure. Finney Smith is we just know that he's always going to play minutes. The price is right, but I don't think we need to go that far. So that's I'm just going to reset my core for all the site members and go from there. And I'm going to take a look in Discord, and I can't run any builds because, as I mentioned, I don't have any lineups. I have to go to the old SaberSim to do that. TJ saying he thinks Harden sits. If you want to speculate that Harden sits, I think an overweight the Chris Dunn, Norman Powell, and Kevin Porter Jr. Would be the guys that I would be overweight on in the Clipper game. And you're not going to use all of your 8 players in the first way, so you should still have room. And it's an argument for also, playing some of this thin value on OKC and some of the later stuff, because you can always swap that right on over to the Clippers. And also, I think this game is very likely to blow out for my take. If Harden sits, obviously it really becomes a major blowout concern. For me, that would be Kevin Porter Jr. and Chris Dunn, especially Kevin Porter Jr. because he'll get the garbage time run as well. So that's sort of the way I'm looking at this slate. Anybody with any thoughts or questions, I'm happy to go through it. I did study the slate pretty well, but again, like I said, I can't play. So the guys who I have as my core right now, usually I just, usually just for the site things and everything like that. But these are the sort of the guys I'm building around. I know there's a lot of names there, but I think you have a lot of guys that are completely viable. I think I want to take off of one of I don't think we need the Edwards, but I still like Edwards a lot at this price, and I want to get that game stack in. So I'm actually going to take him off. It's not a core play, but a guy I still really like quite a bit. And Holiday at this price with no Jaylen Brown. I just think these Celtics are getting a little bit underowned. I guess that's my strongest take. Hauser, I also, I prefer. I like that value, but if Harden sits and if we get that news before, I don't think there's any reason we have to play Hauser. It really just depends on what happens with Harden. What else are we missing? I'm just taking a quick look here and seeing no new news, no new starting lineups that we've seen yet. And any other questions, guys? I'll be in chat. The Nets have terrible defense. Yeah, you could definitely argue for Giannis as a priority, but I just personally, with LeBron with no AD, with Tatum with no Jaylen Brown, with Heat at probably too cheap a price for the matchup, I just prefer those guys' matchups personally. So that's where I'm going. But I have no issue if you want to just play. You also have no AJ Green. There's no real value standing out still. because they're pretty thin, the Bucks. But if you want to just play Giannis, that's totally fine. I think that's completely reasonable. I just don't have any interest in playing the Middleton. I want to get frisky and play Lillard in addition to some of those other guys. How do I play Lillard over Embiid, LeBron, Tatum as spend ups? I just am not personally getting to that myself. So that's sort of my overall outlook on the slate. Usually we'll do a more in-depth stuff, but it's going to be hard until the 6th. So Sheets and I are both out of town until the 6th. I'm going to keep doing these videos and keep doing whatever we can. But again, we're on the road, so we're not going to be able to do as many builds and run as many sims and everything because I just don't have any lineups in. And if I try to enter any, DraftKings will ban me. So James Harden is out. So I guess we're going to wait for the news. I haven't seen that official. So let's just see. I'm sure it is official. I just must have happened while we were on air. Yeah, James Harden, as of this minute, is out. So it's going to take a few minutes for the projections to update. I would encourage you guys to trust the SaberSim projections tonight. And for me, it would be Chris Dunn, Kevin Porter Jr. as the main pieces. I think guys like Jordan Miller and you know what, actually, Bones Highland is probably going to look like a pretty good play. So I'm going to just go through this, put Kevin Porter Jr. And I'm actually going to I think Bones Highland is actually going to look like a regardless of what the projections say, there is certainly upside. And also he'll get the blowout run more than Dunn will. So I think that regardless of where they end up with Bones Highland, I think we're playing Bones Highland or Kevin Porter Jr. in most of our lineups now. It really just depends on what we think they do with the rotation. They still have a lot of bodies. Jordan Miller would, higher on the depth chart, but you're going to need shot creation. That sounds like Kevin Porter Jr. and Bones Highland to me. So that's going to be my outlook on what to do with the Clippers. But it's going to probably take a little too long for the projections update, and I don't think I need to sit you guys through the whole thing. So that's it. When's the NFL Saturday video? I'll get back to you on that one. I'll probably just go live. Again, as I said, I'm at sea out of town. It's a miracle that we're even able to do this at all, these videos. But for site members, we're still updating everything we can. You have the SaberSims filling in for Sheets while he's out of here. So I would encourage people to use the SaberSim projections right now. Everyone keeps saying value. What value? Well, your question, we're about to get a ton of value in the Clipper game because James Harden you're going to get Chris Dunn. You're going to get Kevin Porter Jr. And my guess is you're going to get Bones Highland. It says they refresh. Let's refresh here and see if I have anything new. Give it a minute. And you're going to see this number for Kevin Porter Jr. and Bones Highland, I think, go up quite a bit, as well as Chris Dunn. I would err on the side, regardless of where Highland projects. I just think that there's so much upside there with no Harden. And as you can see, SaberSim still hasn't updated yet, but it'll be updated well before lock. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in with us. Please give us the like, the thumbs up. We want to keep these videos for free. We are going to probably start switching over to some more premium stuff. No Clowney was just ruled out, by the way, so that does solidify a little bit of that. If you want to use the value from Day'Ron Sharpe, I think that's much more reasonable than it was when we started the show. Jalen Wilson also probably comes into play a little bit more, but those would be pieces you would build around using the spend ups from Boston, from Philly, and from the Lakers. That's sort of the way that I would do. TJ knows this. TJ, you should know this about me. I hate the do I trust Pritchard. It's not about trusting anybody or not. I think you're playing one of Pritchard, White, or Holiday in most of your lineups. Now, that for me, it's Holiday. But if you want to play Pritchard, I'm totally good with that at reasonable. So I have no issue. But I'm going to probably be getting out of here because I'm in a room of people here and trying to figure out exactly if we've gotten any updates on the projections. It's probably just going to take another 5 or 10 minutes, 55 minutes before lock. Happy to answer any questions to our Discord. Really appreciate all you guys. We'll be back to usual on the 7th. But until then, we're going to have probably a little bit shorter videos. And there won't be as many running sims or anything like that, just because I cannot enter lineups from down here. Otherwise, I will be banned from DraftKings. I'll take a quick look, actually, while we're waiting for them to update on FanDuel. Didn't cover much of FanDuel earlier today, so let me just hear that nothing's all that different. I think, again, we're still waiting for things to update with the Clippers and with the Nets. But let me just refresh here and go to my lineups and see what stands out more. Jackson Hayes a better play on FanDuel than on DraftKings. That's fair enough. I still don't think you necessarily need to do it because you also got Claxton at 5,700 with no Clowney. I'd rather do that than the Jackson Hayes over there. Derek White, when you factor in the price, the fact that you're spending $60K versus $50K on DraftKings versus FanDuel, you certainly could argue for Derek White being a better play over there. LeBron would for me. Austin Reeves, even at 7,900, still near lock for me. it's pretty much the same thing. Paul George 7,300 still. Avdia maybe a little bit more thin over there, but still totally reasonable. Tatum at 10.3, very reasonable. But we're gonna need to update the projections before we figure anything else out. So again, thanks guys. Please click the like button. I'll be in Discord. Anybody got any questions? I'll do my best to answer them there. And let's get after it. In terms of the football, I am going to leave football till the days of the games as of for right now, just because it's really hard to do these from being at sea, and there's so just really tough to do. But we appreciate you guys here with us. I'm just going to run one more quick look and see if we have any new news on the Clippers projections. They just haven't updated, and they're going to take a little while too, is my guess. But I do think that Kevin Porter Jr. is probably going to look like one of the best plays late, and he would be my preference over Dunn. Bones Highland, I also don't care what he projects at. I would take that stab if I were you guys, because I think that game could turn into a blowout, some serious Bones Highland run late in the game. But my guess is his projection is going to change a little bit. So hit me up in Discord if anybody's got anything. Otherwise, good luck to everybody tonight. I hope you guys crush it, and let's get after it. Good luck, everybody.